I'm Kasia, Maderia in London. Also coming up on the programme, well, as we've been hearing, rescuers on the island are really struggling against the clock, and also they have a lack of heavy equipment. In the city of Palu, up to 60 people are feared to be buried underneath one hotel alone, and desperate survivors in the area have turned to foraging in shops for food, water and fuel. Well, let's cross over to Sulawesi. We were able to speak to Mariko Oi, who was in Sulawesi. She's in Sulawesi. We are struggling to get connection with her, as you can understand, the very difficult situation on the island. So we were hoping to speak to her live. Hopefully we'll be able to get some communications with her a little bit later on the programme, because she's been talking about the desperate search for anybody who's still trapped under the rubble. We'll get much more from Mariko. We can actually speak to her live. As I was saying, communications, Mariko, really difficult at the moment, understandably, and you're struggling to get up to Palu. Just goes to show how difficult the situation is at the moment.
Indeed, Kasia, I'm in the city of Makassar, which is in the southern part of the Sulawesi island. This is as far as we could get last night. As you can see, behind me is the airport, and we have been booked to fly there later this morning. There are some confusions over whether we can actually catch that flight. Until now, the Palu airport has been shut for commercial flights, understandably to give the priority to the chartered planes, helicopters, to get those crucial supplies like water, food and fuel to those who survived the earthquake and the tsunami.
As rescuers get to grips with the situation, there's real fear that the death toll can rise.
Indeed, at the moment the official figure is just over 800, but even when the authorities announced that number yesterday on Sunday, they warned that it could rise further. It could actually be in thousands. Of course, Indonesia is prone to these earthquakes. Only just about 2 months ago, in early August, several strong earthquakes hit the island of Lombok, as well as a very popular tourist destination, Bali, killing hundreds of people as well. And of course, many of our viewers would remember the earthquake from 2004, which killed hundreds of thousands of people. And that's because the country lies on what's known as the Ring of Fire, where the majority of the world's earthquakes take place. And yet, in some poorer parts of the country, especially somewhere like Palu, the buildings, they don't have the money to build strong enough buildings to survive those earthquakes. It was very telling during the Lombok earthquake that many international hotels managed to survive the earthquake, and yet a lot of local homes were destroyed.
And Mariko, given what happened in 2004, as an alert system, a warning system was introduced, and yet I think viewers will be really surprised to hear that that alert system, that advanced system, wasn't working.
That's right. They were implemented, and yet the country hasn't managed to come up with enough money to keep maintaining them. So back in 2016, when there was a big earthquake, it revealed that some of them were damaged, and because they weren't properly maintained, they weren't working properly. And there have been some experts voicing criticism, saying that it's heartbreaking to see all these people dying, even though when the systems have been available and could have been installed properly. Others do disagree, though, Kasia, saying that each earthquake, each tsunami is different, and it's impossible to come up with a perfect solution. The government hasn't responded to those criticisms, but I'm sure they would say that it's too early to start pointing fingers at each other, that the current priority is to rescue those who are still buried alive in Palu.
Yes, it absolutely must be. Mariko, for the time being, thank you very much. Mariko Oi there, and she's reporting from Makassar, and as Mariko was saying, it's really difficult to get to Palu. Our correspondent Rebecca Henschke is one of the first foreign correspondents to reach there, and we'll get much more on the situation in Sulawesi a little bit later here on Newsday. Stay with us for that. But now let's bring you up to date with some of the day's other news stories. Tokyo is bracing itself for the arrival of Typhoon British Prime Minister Theresa May. Now let's turn our attention to China, because on Monday, the 1st of October, it is China National Day. And as you can see, to get into the spirit of it, several cities across China have been staging amazing light shows. This is just a taste of what those cities are showing. This is Shenzhen, where more than 1 million LED lights are installed on skyscrapers across the city to illuminate the night sky. Now, most people in China will be on holiday for what is known as the Golden Week, and this year marks the 69th anniversary of the founding of the People's Republic. It is, Rico. The rap star Kanye West has rebranded himself on Twitter by shortening his name to Ye. You heard it here first. More on Ye, Kanye's new name, on our website. Ka and Ri. I'm not sure it's going to work, Rico. To Rico a little bit earlier. Now, for many people around the world, geishas are perhaps one of the most iconic aspects of Japanese culture. But while the word evokes an image of grace and style, few people can really describe exactly what they mean. Well, this is all about to change because Japanese director Ken Nishikawa has made a highly regarded documentary explaining the life of a geisha. Let's have a look. Well, Ken Nishikawa, who you saw there, the director of that film, and also Mike Rogers, a producer, joined me a little bit earlier here on Newsday to talk about the film. And I started by asking Ken what his mother did as a geisha. Mike Rogers, the producer, and Ken Nishikawa, the director, and also incredible, his mother, Rico, is still working as a geisha at the age of 80. Incredible, isn't it? You have been watching Newsday. I'm Kasia Maderia in London.
And I'm Rico, he's on in Singapore.
Oh, looking forward to that, Rico. But before we go, let's just remind our viewers of the devastation that has been caused by the tsunami in Indonesia's Sulawesi Island.